Hello everyone, Oregon Moto John. In this video we're going to go over installing the medium compression head from Two Stroke Performance on a 2024 KTM 300 XCW. So behind me here you can see I've got the bike prepped. I removed the seat and unplugged the fuel pump, loosened this bolt, and then disconnected the fuel line. I did put the little plug that comes with the bike, so that nothing will enter into the fuel line here. So just put the cap on there and then the plug in that, and now we'll be ready to remove the fuel tank. I did ride this morning up in some thick mud in the Pacific Northwest, so it goes without saying I did wash the bike as thoroughly as I could before doing this project, but once I remove the fuel tank, I'm sure there'll be debris in there that we'll need to clean up. On my 2021 TBI, I could loosen the radiator fairing bolts here, and I could lift the tank off without removing the fairing. In this case, I think this is tight fitting enough here. I'm going to need to remove these screws, remove the fairings from each side before I pull the tank. So I'm going to do that now. So it looks like this fairing has this tab like so, and so it pulls back to come off. It took me a little bit to figure out how that went on. So to go on, it's going to go forward. And then there's this little tab back here that you have to release from in here. I found it helpful to pull out on this as I release that tab. And we'll just do the same to the other side. So now it just should be a matter of getting this fuel tank off. And I've got this fuel line here loose. Got my breather, I just unplugged that, and so this should just lift off. And then I'm going to watch how that fuel hose went in there. Yeah, that's actually pretty obvious how that's going. Down through there. Okay, I can see how that's going. And then this just lifts off. So I'm just going to take a rag and wipe around here, make sure this gets clean. This wiring harness is kind of in the way of the spark plug. I might zip tie that up and remove it from its factory location. Might be kind of hard to change the spark plug where it's at, but let's go ahead and get this cleaned up, and then it just be a matter of draining the coolant from here, and then taking off this hose, getting the coolant out of there, or most of it should be out, and then removing these bolts and putting the Two Stroke Performance high compression insert and head on. Now it's just a matter of draining the radiator coolant. I like this Bulletproof Designs radiator cap removal tool. There's other ones, but this one works quite well. And it's just a matter of putting it on. And then you push down as you turn it, and off it comes. So we're just going to leave that cracked there. Now it can get air. And it's a matter of coming down here, cracking, removing this, and I'll put a funnel up there and drain the fluid into an appropriate catch container. So I have this kind of a setup here, and I'm going to crack that and drain the radiator fluid into a container. Once you crack that, it'll drain out just fine. You can crack it or remove it completely. Now it's just a matter of removing this top radiator hose clamp and removing this off the head, removing these bolts in a star pattern, and we'll pull this head off. Now that we have this top clamp moved, loosened, it's just a matter of pulling this top radiator hose off. Now we will loosen these up in a star pattern. So it looks like this is a 13 millimeter, and I'll be removing these, loosening these in a crisscross star pattern. So for example, I'll loosen this one a little bit, then I'll go over here, and then I'll go over there, and then I'll go here, and then I'll go there, and I'll just keep working my way around. I'm leaving the spark plug in just to help hold the insert in place. You could remove this from the factory harness to get this wire loom out of the way. I just put a couple extra zip ties and pulled it to the side and snugged it up, and that was good enough. here comes the part we've been waiting for. I just barely took a hold of this and I wiggled it and it came right off. So that may be all you need to do. If it is tight, don't pry around here with a screwdriver. You don't want to mar the sealing surface. You could get a rubber mallet and lightly tap on this, but I literally just grabbed it and twisted it, and now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna remove it. Okay, well, things are looking pretty good in there. I'll turn the rear wheel and inspect that, but right now I'm just seeing cross hashing. I don't see a lot of carbon buildup. This bike has 10 hours on it. I've been running the KTM oil, and looks like there's plenty of oil in there too. And then let's look at this. This is my first look. Oh, I'm rather happy with that. Oh, plug looks good. Yeah, it looks real good. I ran factory mapping, except for the last ride was 2 hours with a TSP map. Again, 10 hours, that looks very clean. Overall, you can see the exhaust side over here and intake side over here. There's a little QR code. No, that looks quite good. The new kit comes with new O-rings, so we're going to go ahead and use those. It's from Two Stroke Performance. As you can see, the Two Stroke Performance comes with kit comes with the new copper washers and O-rings, as well as there's an O-ring there that you want to make sure is in place. I'll probably put a little silicone grease to help hold that in place. And then you have your bolts that came with it. You'll be reusing these. Make sure that you get your copper washers off. Those few of those stuck down, so you don't want to double washer that. I thought it might be interesting to see what you're getting for your money here with the two-stroke performance, medium compression or high compression head, depending on what you get. Here's a comparison. This is the stock insert, and I'll include a link to Tokyo Offroad, where he really breaks down and has measured these zones. So I would never do as good of a job as he can do. So I'm just going to refer you to his. But this just gives you a difference here. It's like this is domed up a little more, and then just kind of look at the features. This one might be a little higher to make up for the dome. And Two-Stroke Performance, such nice machine parts. Very nice. I'm excited to, I wasn't sure if I was going to do this because the bike ran so good with the Two-Stroke Performance map. Yeah, very nice. So I'm going to go ahead and get this ready for installation. So now I'm just going to turn the rear wheel. I have it in second gear, and that'll allow me to move this piston down. It actually moves quite easily. Okay, very short stroke, I guess. There's about the bottom right there. This is cool. And then I don't see anything that concerns me in there. Looks very clean. I think the Motorex oil burns pretty clean. I'm going to pause this and we're going to look at the other side. It looks very good. I've looked at both sides. It's clean. Run my fingernail around there. You can also use a ballpoint pen, but I just don't feel anything in there that's of concern. So we're going to go ahead and finish this installation. We'll go ahead and remove these O-rings here and here and put the new ones in. So I gently used a pick, being careful not to mar the surface, and took the old seal out and put in the new one. Likewise, the same thing here. This green one was in very nice condition. If I could go back, I probably would leave it. I have to be very careful. This outer one likes to roll up and off that ridge, so we'll have to be very careful when we're installing the new head that doesn't do that during the install and cause a leak. If I'm concerned, I may go back to this seal. Now we're just going to take this insert, put it inside, and we're going to make sure that we this O-ring is in place. I did put a little bit of silicone grease on there, and then I'll go ahead and probably lightly screw my new spark plug that Two Stroke Performance provided to just help hold it in place. So we'll just kind of flip this over, put this in place. Very nice tight fit there. And then I'm just going to lightly put this in here. It doesn't hold it tight, but it'll keep it from completely falling out of place. Now let's install it on the bike. This has an arrow on here so you can tell which way is forward. Couldn't really mess it up because you need to put where your coolant hose goes, but there is an arrow pointing to the front. And as I put this on, we'll be very careful not to let any of those O-rings, especially the outer one, be displaced. The inner one's countersunk quite a bit, but the outer one is a pretty narrow lip. So here's what I'm talking about here. This has a pretty deep lip in here, so that O-ring is not going to come out, but this one's barely goes seats down. So that one could definitely pull up if I'm not careful. I did use a little bit of grease on that to hold it in, but it still likes to roll up and over the lip. So now we're just going to place this on the bike with the arrow forward, being careful not to displace our O-rings. And that couldn't have been simpler. That just set right on top, and then I twisted it to line up the bolts, just looking from the top. Now we'll just hook up our, put our bolts in a crisscross pattern. Two Stroke Performance provides new copper washers, so let's be sure and use them. I should mention that if you've had your head off or anything, there's some other steps you would need to take, the cylinder, I should say, but this is all stock, so in this case it was a very simple remove this and replace it. But there'd be some extra additional steps if this had been removed before, but for this video we're gonna the purposes would be for a stock KTM newer machine that you just remove and replace this. We're gonna go ahead and tighten this in a crisscross pattern to the specified torque setting by KTM. So I put these in lightly, and then I put these in by hand, finger tight, and now I'm going to torque these down to 27 Newton meters in a crisscross pattern. And before I'm done, I'm going to be sure to tighten my spark plug, because I just put that in finger tight. Don't forget to tighten that down before you ride. Now we have the torque wrench on here, or we're going to take our time snugging these down little by little in a crisscross star pattern to 27 Newton meters. I've made a number of crisscross pattern rounds on here, and I'm just doing a last check, and everything is torqued down to spec. So now we'll put our radiator hose back on, tighten our clamp, refill the system with fluid, roughly 10 millimeters above the fins in here, and then we'll bleed the air out. Make sure we get the air out of the system with this bleed screw right here, and refill as necessary. And be sure to tighten your spark plug and put the cap on top. So now I've replaced the radiator hose, and we'll tighten up this clamp. Okay, we're going to re-add our coolant, and the spec for that is 10 millimeters above the fins. Of course, we're going to need to bleed our system, so we'll go ahead and fill our coolant, bleed it, and then recheck it. So to bleed this, you crack this open until you'll see fluid start to come out, radiator fluid, and then close it. Bleed it to relieve the air, and then once you see radiator fluid coming out, no more air, then close it and be sure to wipe away the excess radiator fluid. Be sure to double check your radiator fluid. Mine's looking good, and so we'll replace the cap. now it's just a matter of replacing the gas tank, plugging in the fuel pump connector, and then of course connecting the fuel line, and then putting the fairings on. And I'll probably start the bike, and once it's cool, I'll double check the coolant level again. And this was easier than I expected. Yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to perform this. It's well worth the upgrade, and I'll be sure to do a first ride video as well. I only have one regret, and that's that once this is assembled, you can't really see it. That beautiful piece of machined, I guess, aluminum is hard to see. Or I'm not sure what compound it is, but man, it is nice. So just some final thoughts. The bike ran really good with the two-stroke performance ERM map upgrade. Maps 1 and 2 worked really well on this bike. So, do you need to do this? I'm not sure. Probably is up to personal preference. I'll definitely post a ride, what it's like with the upgrade as compared to before. I'm sure it'll run really well, but this was very easy to do, so if I don't like it, to put it back wouldn't be a big deal. Of course, I've saved everything. It'd just be a matter of refreshing those rubber O-rings, but this was very easy. If you're hesitant to do it, don't be. This was definitely one of the easier things I've done to my bike. I mean, changing a tire in many aspects is more of a struggle. This just takes a little time, that's all. So I hope this was helpful, and let's see if the bike still runs. I've probably said this before, but one of the main reasons I'm going with this medium compression head is I'm at sea level and just above most of the time when I'm riding, and so this will increase my torque and mid-range pull at this level. And one of the bigger reasons too is I can run pump gas. I think 91 octane gas is what two-stroke performance recommends, and here in the Pacific Northwest it's pretty easy to get a hold of non-ethanol 92 octane gas, so that's what I run on all my motorcycles. So this is a nice choice given my elevation, and that I can get a hold of fuel that works. I mean, if you go high compression, now you have to change your octane ratings and things, and so I just that would be a little more complicated for me. So that's one of the main reasons I went with a medium compression head. Well, it seems to be running, so I think we're okay. So far, so good. I want to make sure nothing is leaking.